Good evening and welcome to Hands Off. My name is Rhett and I'm your host, and tonight we are kicking off a very special series on breaking code silence, or you might know it as the troubled teen industry, or you may know it as institutional abuse. But whatever you want to call it, it's horrific. And 2 years ago, almost 2 years, we did a story on institutional abuse before it was even a topic that has come to the surface. And as it has blossomed into more, we have decided that we wanted to do several interviews on this topic. And tonight, joining me is two brave individuals that I'm going to introduce. We have Alexandra Barry and we have Amy Teichman. Girls, thank you both for coming on to this show. I really appreciate it. And I commend the two of you for being able to say, I have found my voice and I'm going to use it and I'm going to speak out. So I appreciate it, very much so. I think it's important for everyone to know that some of the stories that we're going to feature through this series, they're not easy to listen to at times. The statistics are horrible. And but I think what's important is that we're kind of all in this together, and I know that's kind of like an overused phrase, but really the truth is that, and that's why we're here. So we have a lot of show to do, so let's just start off with, Amy, I'm going to start with you. Can you just please introduce yourself, tell us your name again, the schools that you attended, and for how many years you were there?
My name's Amy Teichman. I was at Cross Creek Manor in Laverkin, Utah, and I Impact in Tecate, Mexico. I was there for about a year and a half with both programs.
A year and a half total for both programs?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Alexandra, I know I just said your name, but can you introduce yourself and tell us what schools that you attended and for how long?
Yep. My name's Alexandra Barry, and I'm from Palm Beach County, Florida. My first school that I went to was Boca Christian. That was from the 6th and 7th grade. And then I went temporarily to an alternative school for about a 3-month period. And then my last school that I went to was a controversial drug treatment center called Growing Together. That's shut down now, back in 2006.
Right, and I think
in 04 to 05.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is that currently right now, every year there are over 50,000 children that are in these types of schools, with over 1,000 of them currently being active in the United States. And they are very rarely, they're not even regulated in any way, shape, or form. So what I'd like to do is just kind of go through just a series of just some panel questions. All I need you to do is like either raise your hand or give me a 2-finger symbol. As I read these questions, just tell me if it applied to you. So at times I was restrained. At times I was denied food or water. My sleep pattern was intentionally disrupted. When I was taken, it was through being held captive against my will. I was physically harmed or beaten. I suffered from emotional abuse during this time period. And often I was forced to submit to a belief about myself that wasn't true. So in most cases out of those that I just read, the two of you were very much in sync, yet you were in two different schools completely. So Alexandra, I'm going to start with you. If I gave you a 1-minute elevator speech, can you tell us, just give us like a quick summary of your story and how it all took place?
Yep, absolutely. I'll do my best. So I was brought to the program back on February 28th of 2004. I was a first-time runaway, first and only time, okay? I wasn't even gone for 5 hours. So long story short, I was escorted by my local sheriff's department. I was not under arrest. And I was told that I'm going to go to a therapist session. So we get to the facility, my family's there, and as soon as the gates locked in the parking lot, I was able to get out of the officer's car, and then they buzzed the door, let me in, and there's staff members there asking me all these questions, and it lasted all day until the end, where they told me, hey, by the way, you're in a 12 to 18 month drug program. You're going to have to get strip searched and you're not going home. I obviously begged my family to not do this to me. I just right away, I promised I'd never do it again. No, it was done. That was it. So that's when this living nightmare started. And I had no idea I'd be gone for almost 3 years.
3 years.
3 long years. So it took me, because I know a minute here, it took me about a year to break me. I was a silent misbehavior. I was the girl that I was more quiet to myself. I observed everything. I would get really sick in the program because of the medications. As soon as you enter the program, you see a psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist, actually, now that I've done my research, finding that we were on a lot of the same medications. And for me, I was on Seroquel and Lexapro. And Seroquel, at night, I wouldn't, unfortunately, wake up. So I had other health issues develop, and it was just horrible. I did end up 7-stepping the program. Today actually makes 15 years. I was able to exit the cult, but it didn't end,
Sure.
It wasn't until this year I realized that it was a cult. So after listening to this podcast called The Lost Kids about a kid named Daniel from CEDU. So, that's just pretty much in a nutshell.
Yeah. No, honestly,
it's hard to do it in a minute. I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
It's fantastic. The reason why I wanted to do this is because I kind of wanted to ease into the series as we bring people on for these one-on-one interviews that we're going to do coming up. And just so that for our audience purposes, these 2 young women are going to come back on the show. We're going to do a one-on-one. We're going to do a little bit more in depth. But this was the best way for me to get some sort of a sampling so people can understand and what they can expect. So, Amy, I'm gonna go to you, and I'm gonna ask you to kind of give us a little bit of a 1-minute summary. Do the best that you possibly can, and we'll go from there and just take a deep breath.
My story is actually quite similar to Alexandra's. I was having issues at school. I either just wasn't going and faking sick, or I was failing all my classes. And my 2 aunts had decided that they just couldn't do it anymore. And they convinced my mom and my dad that they had heard about this great place in Utah that would really help me. And they ended up picking me up from summer school one day. They told me, oh, we're going to Vegas for the weekend. Your uncle's there on business. I was 16 years old. I was like, yes, free trip to Vegas. This is going to be a blast. We got to the airport, and we were met by 2 people that I was told worked for my uncle. And they took us out to their car. I didn't think anything was going on. And they got me in the back of the car and shut the door, and nobody else got in the car. And I found out, now I know that they are escorts. They are people that you pay to legally kidnap your children. Mm-hmm. And take them to these programs. And they drove me from Las Vegas into Utah. And when I got into Utah, I had no idea what to expect. And it looked just like, kind of what you would think a normal boarding school looked like. And at that time, I was led to believe that it was just like a boarding school where I would be attending and getting therapy. And I had no idea that it was going to end up being about 18 months of hell. And I didn't work the program in Utah. And one of their big threats was sending kids to high impact. But I thought, they wouldn't do that to me. No, my parents would never sign off on me going to Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one night, the guy that ran Cross Creek, Ron Garrett, he came into my room and he said, you're not going to sleep tonight. I need you to go sit at the upper desk and wait. The escorts will be here at some time to take you to Mexico. And I thought Cross Creek was bad, but high impact was even worse. Like, high impact was just it. I remember praying that I would just die because it would be better than living one more day there.
Yeah, I understand.
I finally turned 18 19 years ago, and they booted me out with $20 and a bus ticket to California, and that was that.
Thank you for having it in you to tell that story, and because it's obvious that the emotional impact is there, and that kind of is the question that I'm gonna go to Alexandra so I can give you a little bit of a break, Amy. What are some of the negative effects that you experienced as a result of being in this type of a program?
Man, I don't even know where to begin. I've since I've left the program, and again this year, I realized the root of all my problems are from growing together. Mm-hmm. I have terrible CTPSD, terrible. Okay, I got it from there. I have terrible trust issues, relationships. I don't trust. I'm always questioning people's motives. Because that's what we had to do. We had to dissect our thoughts pretty much. We were brainwashed on a daily basis. Our paranoia, and I found like all of the survivors from my program have the same issue. We're all extremely terrified of authority, and we're all extremely just naturally paranoid, always looking over our shoulders. And I'm now finding out, since I've been pretty much digging from the beginning of time of when my program opened back in 1984. A lot of us are dead. A lot of us died right after the program, in our early 20s. A lot of us have either cancer, autoimmune diseases. It's not okay.
Yeah,
and then I did additional research too, and I'm wondering, the building that we're in was built in 1912. So I wonder if we're also exposed to other health hazards, such as asbestos. There's probably still other underlying conditions that I have as a direct result from the program.
Sure.
But again, I'm a brainwashed person, and I'm learning to identify the abuse.
Yeah.
And the fact that the other major problem I have in my life, I can't identify abuse because I was in there being abused constantly. Okay. So my 20s were just havoc in abusive relationships. I've looked death in the face a few times because of the situations I was put in. Because again, when you take a child, I was a traumatized teenager going into this program and being exposed to daily negative stimuli, adverse childhood experiences.
Yes,
okay?
your ACE score, I'm sure, is very high.
If you compare me to your national kid, forget it.
Yeah.
I hope, my life expectancy is, I don't know. I don't know if this has even impacted my health, my long-term life expectancy too. Because again, a lot of us we are dying at younger ages.
Sure,
So far,
and there's also a higher risk of drug and alcohol addiction. The suicide rate is much
there's
higher.
Been plenty of,
Yeah.
unfortunately, for me, by God's grace, I was never an addict.
Right.
I was forced to believe
Okay.
I had a different.
I was just going to ask you that. Did they force you to believe that? So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Amy, was your experience at what you're hearing, is it similar to your?
Oh yeah, a lot of the CPTSD, the paranoia, always looking over my shoulder. I'm 37 years old and I'm still terrified that, at any moment someone could just come and take me away from my life again.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
When I was about 21 years old, I ended up in jail, and like most people in that situation, I feel like they'd be a little scared and intimidated, but it was just, I was kind of used to it because at that point I'd only been out of high impact for, under 5 years. So, and I was still very much programized at that point. It took a long time and going to therapy to realize that it's Stockholm syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
First, when I first got out, I thought, it changed my life. I'm alive because of these people. But I developed, bad drinking problem and drug problem and just buried a lot of it. And a lot of it's coming back now, and I'm finally getting an opportunity to deal with it. And
Well, I love that you just said that.
To heal.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because as these stories are unfolding, it's very hard. I mean, there are a lot of people in preparation just for doing this series and this show and talking to people that they are struggling as these things are beginning to resurface, because you both are at that age where it starts to come out. And I think what I want to ask is, and either one of you can answer, it doesn't matter, but when did you first make the connection to, okay, this is happening to me and it's because of this? Because you went to this school, because of the program. Like, when did you realize that it wasn't a beneficial program, that the negative attributes are now showing up? Was it, or were you 18, 20, 25?
I think for me, I was about 24 when I started to really realize, and I was pregnant with my daughter, and I remember sitting there talking to her dad about it one night, and just the way he had looked at me, like, when I was telling him about it, and he just kind of looked at me like, that's not normal. And I'm like, what do you mean? That was my life for 18 months. What do you mean these people, they were helping me? What do you mean that this was hurting me? And it made me really step back and look at a lot of the therapy processes that they did or the seminars that we had to go through, and realized how detrimental it truly was mentally. And while there was physical abuse in in a lot of these programs, I know there was at Cross Creek and High Impact especially, but like looking at the emotional and verbal abuse that was going, and realizing like how they'd sweep it under the rug and disguise it and make these parents think that, they're going to fix their child, but they broke their child.
Right.
That was their goal, was break that. When you break kids, you just end up with broken adults.
Absolutely. Or it's like you're being held together with like the cheapest Scotch tape, and then it's just going to wear out. So this is a question. I know we're going to come up to break really soon. So, but what I want to ask real quick is, Alexandra, do you have a relationship with your parents to this day?
I actually have zero relationship with my mother.
Okay.
She initially, my parents were getting divorced at the time. She's the one that pretty much put me in the program. My father, he was manipulated to pay for it. My grandmother.
Okay. Okay. And Amy, do you have a relationship with your parents at all?
My mother passed away a few years ago. I haven't had any contact with my father or my aunts. I talked to one of my aunts when I was about 7 months pregnant 14 years ago, and she asked if I wanted to talk about what happened. And at that point, I just wasn't ready. And now we've just completely cut contact. I have no real desire to talk to them.
I completely understand. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be able to take a breath. When we come back, what we're going to talk about is really one of the essential ingredients that we speak of on this show, and that is how did they get through this? And we're going to address that and talk about some other things as well. So we'll be right back.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time.
Welcome back to Hands Off. We are talking about breaking code silence. We're kicking off our new series in regards to this particular topic. I have two very special individuals here with me tonight, Alexandra Barry and Amy Teichman. We've been talking about their horrific stories of institutional abuse. My heart goes out to the two of you, but you have my admiration in regards to being here today to do this show. This show always speaks to the core of getting through trauma and coming out on the other side. And I just kind of want to ask, I'll start with you, Amy. What do you think got you through that and continues every day?
A lot of it is the girls that I was there with. We have such a strong bond still to this day. I'm still in contact with a lot of those girls, and they're my family now. I truly believe when you go through an experience like that, if you just develop a different bond with them and with the people that you were with, and just the encouragement that I got from them on a daily basis in the program, and that I still continue to get from them, 19 years later. And we actually went back a year ago to Utah to our program. It's a hotel now, and just being able to do that with them.
That's incredible. I
truly believe if it weren't for them, I wouldn't even be here today.
Sure, because it speaks to the statement of you are not alone, and that is so important with any of this. Alexandra, how about you? What do you think got you through all of that and here today?
I would say for me, it's this year I'm starting to truly just peel the onion kind of thing, because for me, I'm finally able to start forgiving myself for how my life after the aftermath turned out, I was hoping to get a college degree and, you know, be this attorney and all this good stuff. But unfortunately, I was robbed from that. And that's the reality.
Yeah.
And it's not even my fault.
No.
You know, and for me now that I'm starting to heal is by networking with, well, first of all, the survivors from my program, they're my best friends. We never lost contact.
Yeah.
But this year, for me to help my healing journey, I started digging, started researching everything.
Yeah.
Sending out FOIAs to DCF.
Yep.
I started my own investigation, and what I'm finding is not okay.
Yeah. And
you know, and the first, like, knowing the fact that the first child abuse cases for Growing Together happened the year I was born, it kind of just is like, wow. You know, like, I never had a chance to even, like, prevent any of this stuff, you know? So now, to help me heal, because I do have Stockholm Syndrome, I actually did start going to therapy this year for Growing Together.
Good for you.
By an ex-staff member that used to work there.
Wow.
Yeah, silly me.
Okay.
Silly me.
No.
I did 2 sessions with her.
Okay.
And she was my therapist prior for EMDR. I had to go due to, you know, other life circumstances. And long story short, I went in August and I started confronting her and asking her specific questions like, hey, why did we have to strip search each other every night? What was the point of that? She lied to my face about it. My therapist, who I pay for, and I know she knew about that. So anyways, that kind of confrontation for me is helping me realize none of this was my fault.
Sure.
And that guilt that I used to have, and that label of a drug addict is gone, because I never was that.
No,
really
not at all.
You know?
And
so
I'm
still healing. I'm still unpeeling that onion.
Yeah,
you know?
I know Amy said this, but do you have any children?
No.
No children.
I do not.
And Amy, how many children do you have? 1 or 2 or?
I just have one 13-year-old.
Nice. I'm sure that you are an amazing mom, based upon all that you went through, and, you know, to say, okay, you know, I know that this is never going to happen. So, and Amy, you did say, so this place that you were at is now a hotel. Alexandra, is your place closed or is it still in operation?
It's closed.
It is closed.
So my goal is to get the building destroyed, though.
I hear you loud and clear. We are so close to the end. I want to. I know, Amy, you have something going on. So if somebody wants to contact you and sign the petition that you have, what is the best way for somebody to get in touch with you? And if you could just quickly tell us what the petition is. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's Alexandra, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry, Alexandra. I do that all the time.
My petition, you can find it simple at change.org/demolish GT, Girl Tango. And you can contact me directly if you have any questions at aberry@siblingsofmurderedsiblings.org for my email. And you can feel free to add me as a friend on Facebook.
Excellent.
I'm gone public as of today about my petition. And, you know, I really hope our long-term goals, we're able to get the building demolished. I still reside in Palm Beach County. I've never left.
Okay.
And every time that I drive down to Lake Worth, it does trigger me and many of our hundreds of survivors. So it would be nice if they acknowledge what our city officials and DCF and everybody involved has failed to protect the children, to demolish the building and put something in honor of all of the individuals who are no longer with us, like a memorial wall, and to have something representing freedoms for adolescents.
Good for you.
You know, we were robbed from our most basic human rights.
Yes.
And I want to change that, you know, so.
I love it. So as we come to the end, what I want to just say to the two of you is that, A, I want to thank you again. I am looking forward to us diving deeper into each of your stories individually. And I know for a fact that what transpired to you and happened to you was never your fault to begin with. And I hope that at the core of yourselves that you realize that and you believe it and you say it to yourself every single day, because it is 100% the truth. And the impact is not measured by what happened to you. It is just a matter of the fact that it did happen. And that's all that needs to be done. And you are believed and you are heard. And I appreciate you for coming on this show. I think you two are both a force to be reckoned with. And this is not the last time that we're going to hear from the two of you. So, my foundation, we're going to highlight your stories on our the written version if we have that, and I hope that you guys will continue to watch as we bring other people that are going to come on. We're going to do the one-on-ones, and then we're going to invite you guys back and have you guys give your one-on-one. And I appreciate you both being here and kicking this off. It's an important topic, and we're going to do great things, and we're going to make great things happen, and we're going to help people, and that's what's the most important. That's our show. Please tune in every Thursday at 10 and on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. and you'll be able to follow along with this series. It is one of the most impactful things I think that we'll be talking about. So that's our show. That's Hands Off. Thank you so much.
You were the worst at hide and go seek.